Hello once again, I'm Charles Aite. Now, the CEO of the McDonalds Group, Dr. Daniel Macaulay, has commended the innovation of entrepreneurs amid COVID-19, saying that it has been phenomenal. Speaking at the launch of the second season of the McDonalds Entrepreneurship Challenge in Accra, Dr. Daniel Macaulay explained that this new season of the challenge will be keen on innovation, positive attitude, and enterprise.
I see more innovation this time. I see more of different dynamics in terms of the first season, and I can also see that the second season the contestants are very serious and very determined. Most of them did not really, when we started this challenge, everybody thought it was a joke. After they saw what really happened and what is really happening to the lives of the season one contestants, it's been very competitive this season.
In your submission, you made a very key statement that COVID-19 has brought the best out of entrepreneurs. How much so?
Well, I mean, you can see what is going on around you. COVID has brought the best, really brought the best out of entrepreneurs. I mean, we all have to remodel our businesses. I mean, by remodeling your business, we were locked down for a very long time, unless you are not a very good entrepreneur. Imagine you are an entrepreneur, you've been locked down. No revenue coming in, no movement, nothing. It's an opportunity for an entrepreneur to think, to be innovative.
Beyond innovation and drive, what other metrics are you going to be using to measure the success of these candidates?
Well, it's about attitude. It's all about attitude and their determination and consistency and becoming successful people. There are many metrics, but with me, every successful man had to be disciplined and also put up the right attitude. What makes you successful is not really what you know. It's not really what you have learned, but it is about your attitude.
How do you measure government input in ensuring that entrepreneurs reach the global stage? We've seen with the MBSSI, we've seen with the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Plan, but how do you rate their intervention so far?
Well, government is doing very well, if you ask me. I mean, for what I'm seeing out there, government have outlined many programs to help the to help the youth. Unemployment will never go away without the input of the private sector.
Well, so how innovative have young entrepreneurs been amid COVID-19? Well, Al-Hassan Koligu Hamza is the founder of the Alco Share and a young entrepreneur wading through the storms of COVID-19. He joins us for more analysis on what Dr. Daniel Macaulay told us earlier on. Welcome to the program, Hassan. So, I mean, we've heard from Dr. Daniel Macaulay the fact that entrepreneurs have been very innovative during COVID-19. You are an distinguished entrepreneur in your own field, but how special is your story amid COVID-19?
Thank you very much, my brother. The enthusiasm was there and the excitement immediately after the season one was finished and I was declared winner. So I wanted to run very fast as a young entrepreneur who have waited so long to put up something or to start a business. I was very excited and I wanted to put things in place very, very fast.
But how has COVID-19 been for you?
But then COVID-19 came. And when it came, actually, initially I was confused because it affected everything.
You're confused.
Even physical movement was a problem.
Yeah.
So not to talk of business. But that gave me an opportunity to re-examine my business model and see whether it can survive in the future if such things do come again.
So when you say you re-examined your business model, what exactly did you do?
I really look at whether without human movement, business can still go on, and re-examined the distribution channels and realized that I can still do business even without moving physically, and that has helped.
I do know that you ventured into share production, of which you turned out to be the winner of last season's challenge. The share industry is really granting jobs to hundreds of households, especially those in the northern region, the women in that sphere. What's the special thing that you bring on board?
The special thing about ALCO Share is that we are women focused. Actually, we've realized that the share industry is not doing much for the women. Meanwhile, the whole business revolves around them. And you know, women, when they get little income, it goes direct into their household.
Exactly.
They don't have where to spend their money. It just goes direct into the household. And that actually motivated me much. When I saw the women struggling to get funding and investment in order to expand their business, these little household businesses, that motivated me to put up something. And so I'm not just, I'm not a CEO or a business owner. I'm only an employee of the women up there. And I'm just doing their bidding, selling their message, trying to attract investment for them. And once there is proper investment and their businesses, they have access to larger market and they can produce in large quantities, definitely it will enhance their income and they will be empowered.
Interesting.
To take more.
Yeah. I was caught up when you talked about the women, the fact that you're serving them. But, you know, we've seen the disruptions of Covid-19. We've seen how most of these women, likely in the rural zones, have bear the brunt of Covid-19. People not moving. You talked about the lockdown. How are they now repositioning themselves to be much more relevant to the market now?
When Covid-19 came, it came at a time that the share season was just starting. So actually they started picking up their nuts. By the time that the lockdown came, picking of share nut was very, that was the busiest period. So it affected them somehow because they could not pick much.
Great.
But the little that they have picked, they are trying to reposition themselves.
Okay.
They are not rushing to sell off to the middlemen and then to lose.
Okay.
So they are repositioning themselves very well.
Great.
To take advantage of the market.
We can't leave this discussion without talking about the $100,000, that you received, having turned winner of the previous season. How have you maximized this amount so far?
I entered into the competition to build the business. So my focus wasn't actually in the cash. But then, how do I build that business? So in the final day, they asked me, how are you going to use the money? And I outlined how I was going to use the money. And I think that was even why I won. So after I won, they gave me a competent team. McDonald's gave me a very competent team. I said, work with this team. And the team have ensured that what I plan to do is being done. Currently, as we speak, the factory is under construction. Okay. I said I needed a truck. The truck has been bought. So very soon, they will finish the construction and they will hand over.
How many jobs are we looking at?
Oh, for now, we are looking at picking about 30 women. Okay. And then some few administrative staff.
Interesting story, Al-Hassan. Yes. We're so grateful that we did hear your story there. Here's an entrepreneur in the face of COVID-19 expressing to us how innovative his product has been throughout these months. Away from that, Cocoa Board will from today start buying cocoa beans from farmers for the next crop season. According to Cocoa Board, it is planning to buy 16 kilos of beans at 316 cedis a ton for 660 cedis. Well, it is also hoping to use a fraction of the 1.3 billion cocoa loan syndication to support this initiative. Joseph Boahin Edo is Chief Executive of Cocoa Board.
The first tranche is coming, I think, latest by the 10th of October. It could be earlier than that. The 1.3 can move us up to some stage because we are aiming at producing 900,000 metric tons. If you look at the price of cocoa, the LID, it means when we produce even around 500,000 metric tons, that alone will consume all the 1.3 billion. Now, when that comes, then it means we have to go for extra money. But the banks have assured us that they have the whole thing has been oversubscribed by 250 million. So we still have room to go for more money to top up. And then we do other things too. For instance, we do bridge financing. We have a number of processors in the country. You know, they don't come into the syndication. So we give them beans and then we take money. You know, so there's CMC does this local or domestic trading of cocoa with the local processors.
Well, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority says it is considering proposals to increase the retirement age from the current 60 years. It is also looking at increasing the deductions made from the worker's salary for the particular scheme. Now, this move has been influenced by some challenges facing SNIT's pension scheme. The chief executive of the NPRA, Hayford Atakrofi, however, says that his outfit must be subjected to some approval by some stakeholders. He spoke earlier on the PM Express Business Edition on JoyNews with George Riafi.
Pension payments, when they're due, they're due. I mean, it's on your 60th birthday. So if your 60th birthday falls on a Sunday, it has to be on it, you know, of course, the next working day. So COVID or no COVID, when the person reaches their retirement age, they will have to be paid, you know. So in terms of that, we have done as much as possible to meet the deadlines. Of course, we all know that with remote working environments, things would not have gone on the way naturally it would have been, let's say if you retired in 2019 or 2018. So there have been a few delays, but under no circumstance will a worker who has worked for all his entire life be made to suffer simply because of COVID. So payments are being made, albeit with a few delays here and there, but what needs to be done is being done. Yeah. So the thing about pensions is that it's small contributions that are made, that are invested, and then, you know, they give you returns. So that had been done. That had been done. So nobody's benefit has been reduced as a result of that. Of course, there are some people in the public sector who, because of data issue, haven't been paid fully. But these are legacy issues which have been from the past, which we are trying to resolve. So those issues are there. But in terms of what you are legitimately entitled to by way of benefit, you have to receive it, and they are receiving it. Of course, we do have some petitions coming in. Either maybe there are gaps in my contribution or what I was expecting, I didn't get that, and those cases are individually investigated and dealt with. When you take your car for an MOT, or you as a person, you go to a hospital to have yourself checked, you know, medically to see whether you're doing fine. You know, the SNIT scheme from time to time is actually checked to see whether the scheme is doing well. The last time it was checked was in 2014, and the actuaries gave us some advice as a country which we needed to follow. Part of it was that the contribution may not necessarily be enough. So we may need to look at increasing the contribution. They also saw that SNIT was paying out benefits sometimes from their own, from the investments. Because the thing about the defined benefit scheme is that you as a young man, you contribute, and then the old man who is leaving takes the benefit of your contribution. You know, so it's a pay-as-you-go system. So if new people are not coming in, it becomes difficult in the growth of the fund. And we all know as a country, it got to a point, if you look at the statistics, the contribution was less than the payout. So there was a bit of a difficulty for SNIT.
Interesting issue here that I want some clarification. I mean, from a layman's perspective, so does it mean that people were not were not retiring, or people were not contributing to the scheme?
People were retiring. Retirement, as for...
it was due.
Yes.
So then what
but people coming in, there were less people being hired in the public sector. Over a period of time, there were less people being hired.
Well, let's get some more analysis on this. Joining me via Zoom is analyst Andrews Akpovli. Welcome to the program, Andrews. I don't know whether you have seen this report yet, but has it come to you as a surprise that the SNIT scheme is under threat?
Not at all. I'm not surprised about that because it's part of some of the long-held view in some of the studies that have been done very recently, that over time, the SNP pension scheme has not been sustainable. Why? Because, if you look at some of the reforms that have been going on, for example, in 2003 and 2004, when we brought the National Health Insurance Scheme, we took 2.5% from SNP, which used to be 17.5, and then gave it to the National Health Insurance, right? Then again in 2008, we passed the National Pensions Law, and then we've again taken 4%, sure. And now we pass it to the Tier 2, and now we have 11%. So naturally, it is expected that they will have some sustainability issue in paying, and when it's a period of such distress, normally what would have happened is that the fund would have probably reduced benefit, but you can hear what the CEO said, they have not reduced the benefit, or they might have probably cut off their staff, reduce their overheads, and then sometimes someone will say, look at their investment. But looking at what is happening in Ghana now, you can see that for the past 2 years, Ghana Stock Exchange has not, every year has been closing, for example, in negative. And SNP have a lot of its investment, in stocks. So if you look at their performance over the years, anytime the stock exchange perform well, then their return will be very good. However, if you look at the past 2 years, the stock exchange has not been the best. So yes, they have some challenges that might some of these proposals the CEO talked about.
Okay, but what do you also make of the proposals to increase the retirement age to deal with the challenge facing the scheme now?
Yeah, I don't think it will be a new thing, because recently Professor Ban in the University of Ghana department also proposed that to Labour that we should be looking at increasing the current retirement age from 60 to 65. Right, which is, I would say that would also give the scheme some respite, to try to build up the return. Besides that, you can also increase the contribution. But that, I know that it will come at a cost, because you have to look at whether the employer is ready to, increase the payment, and then also whether the contributor is also willing to pay more. So those ones are quite difficult. But when you come to increasing the retirement age, yes, that can be done to give some, a respite to the scheme, so that it will take a bit of longer time to pay those benefits. So yes, I think those proposals are well, and it's not the first time this call has come. So it's in the right direction that we should look at increasing the retirement age going forward.
Having listened to all these concerns, and it's exactly what we've heard earlier on, should the whole Pension Act be reviewed after 10 years? Do you think the whole Pension Act must be reviewed after 10 years?
Yes, I don't think it is out of place at this stage, because you see, in some other countries, like if you look at the United Kingdom, they do that on an annual basis, right? And then if you look at the law that we are having now, was passed in 2008 and started implementation in 2010. 10 years after, yes, we have had one amendment to the law, which is in 2004. We had an amendment, to the law, which we have at 883 currently. Just to get some people, who were supposed to have joined the new treated pension scheme to get back to the SNP. Now, after 10 years, there are some call from other expecting that, why don't we allow another extra years, so that benefit can accumulate, so that you can pay better Tier 2 benefit. So I don't think it's out of place at all. So it's always good to look at, reforms, and that will bring us a better. And then if you look at some other aspects, to looking at capital issue, that also others are calling, So it's very important that, we can look at the reforms. It's not out of place at all.
Okay.
And I think.
Okay,
right
Andrew Agbovli, we're so grateful that you joined us. He's a pension analyst, giving us some analysis on, the entire concerns about a possible review of the retirement age. Now, the Advertising Association of Ghana has called for the swift passage of the Advertising Council Bill. Now, the bill, which is at the final stage in Parliament, is expected to sanitize the industry. According to the president of the association, Mensa Togbo, the absence of the bill is causing unregulated and unprofessional activities in the advertising sector.
The Advertising Association of Ghana said the industry almost came to a standstill during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Mr. Mensah, agencies have had to streamline their budget, and that affected their cash flows.
Like any other industry, there are rules governing it. I think there are rules. You cannot just get up because you have been to school and you can read and write, set up an agency without you and your wife and no qualifications. Then you start, because what you do as an agency impacts on a nation, impacts on people. So you have to do it professionally. So there are rules guiding it. Again, if you are an outdoor advertising company, you install billboards. There are rules in the industry. For example, now you see a lot of billboards just everywhere because the rules are not approved by Parliament. So once we have the bill, like any other country, Nigeria, South Africa, Europe, there are rules. But now, because there's no bill, anybody can get up and do what he wants.
The association also expressed worry about the absence of the bill, which it described as breeding unregulated and unprofessional activities in the advertising sector.
Any industry, especially in our industry, advertising, when there's a problem, the first thing every company does is to cut the marketing budget. In January, people had good budgets. Then all of a sudden, by February, Covid-19 came in. I don't know anybody here who didn't suffer. We all suffered.
Well, it's been 20 years of government promises for affordable housing. Yes, we've seen some results, but there is still a huge gap of about 2 million housing deficit in the country. In search for answers, JoyNews kickstarts this year's Habitat Fair, exploring what credible alternatives for housing are available in Ghana. This candid discussion starts at the EcoBank head office later today at 4 p.m. You just don't want to miss it. But joining me in studio for more on this is project lead Ernest Akufo with the Multimedia Group. Ernest, we're so grateful that you joined us.
Thank you.
What's special about this, year's event?
Good. So this year's event, what we are doing special is that we are looking at what alternatives do we have to affordable housing that we've always been talking about. And for the records, this is going to be the 11th edition of the Habitat Fair.
Exactly.
So we all acknowledge that there's a deficit that we need to fill. And multimedia using JoyNews is trying to bridge that gap, the deficit that we have.
Tell us about this afternoon's or tonight's, forum. Is it open to the public?
So tonight's forum will be doing virtual. It will be live on TV at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And we'll be doing the official launch of this year's Habitat Fair.
Okay.
And we're coming from the head office, EcoBank's head office. For the records, they are title sponsors, EcoBank. We have Ghana Buy Investment also helping us. We have DBS Roofing. We have Duraplast. And we have the Planned Cities Project, that the cities and habitats who are helping us bring to this location live from the EcoBank head office.
Great, and as we shall be following keenly for more updates on this one, you just don't want to miss out on this. It's at 4 p.m. Habitat Fair officially launched at the EcoBank head office. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace. I'm Charles Ayete. Coming up next is Election Brief.